The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. Whether you are a seasoned federal employee or whether you are just starting out in your career or in your journey of learning about your benefits, the Fed15 has got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed in the federal space this week. We are your hosts, as always. I am Katelyn Murray, and I'm joined by Mr. Dan Sipe himself, and we are like the powder blue team today.
Yes. I got the memo, so I wore the right stuff.
I'm loving it. I started the day in a red shirt, but it brought too much of the redness out in my face, so I had changed.
Those are rosy holiday cheeks.
They're definitely something.
Yeah,
I can't say that it's from warm weather because we are freezing over here.
Well, it was probably the warm glow of seeing those cool Christmas market pictures from Germany.
Yes. Yeah. We had a beloved client send some awesome pictures from some traveling that she's doing this morning, and I shared those with the team. It's always good to see kind of what all of that hard work and planning kind of manifests into in the real world. So,
and it seems to me like Germany really likes to do Christmas from looking at that.
Oh, yeah.
I have a nephew that was occasioned while he was in the military service to be over there for Christmas. And he said, Uncle Dan, you wouldn't believe it. I said, I kind of would. I think they kind of invented it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're big fans. I've never been to the German Christmas markets myself, but I have been to the smaller version of that in Chicago. And there's lots of cool stuff there. So, yeah.
Sure. Closest stop come is Christmas Town at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, the old country.
Hey, there you go. Hey,
so
that's awesome. Cool.
So,
all right. Well, so today we have a very new year, new me heavy episode for you guys. Hopefully, by the time you're hearing this, we're well into the new year. We're about a month down. You've done all of your kind of catching up from the holidays at work, and maybe there's a bit more time to focus on your own finances. So Dan is going to talk with us about why 2026 might be a really good year to do a plan review and to also do a benefits checkup for yourself. There's a couple kind of factors that make this a good year to take a look at that. And then I am going to go through a financial to-do list for Feds at the beginning of the 2026 year, just to give you some practical application things that you can kind of really dig into. But Dan, tell us why 2026 is a really good time to be looking with a detailed lens at our benefits.
The first reason is, dear viewer, that you woke up today. That's reason number one. Reason number two is you probably didn't do it in 2025. Now, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. So what I'm going to be talking about here is a pretty decent rubric for you to put in place every single year. But there are a couple of, nuances to it being 2026. So in the big picture, federal benefits change incrementally through thresholds, timelines, and elections. And 2026 includes enough overlapping updates to justify benefits review across career stages, wherever you are. Early and mid-career reviews reduce rushed decisions later. Okay, so it's never too early to start looking at this. So some key rule changes converging in 2026. Secure 2.0 passed, and there are a couple of changes associated with it. Number one, there are higher RMD ages. There are evolving Roth catch-up rules, revised beneficiary payout rules for non-spouse and trust beneficiaries, looking at Social Security, estimates about 2.8% applies to those born 1960 plus. Ongoing adjustments to taxable wage caps and income thresholds are happening now. Some other federal benefits, your annual insurance premium changes, updated contribution limits, because they happen every year for supplemented benefit coordination considerations. So why do incremental changes happen? Because they're easy to miss. Because the individual update might appear minor. But when you get a bunch of them happening at the same time, or you have these minor changes that maybe you don't attend to year after year after year, it becomes a much greater impact. Okay. And so the combined impact can affect your tax timing, cash flow planning, and long-term flexibility. So high risk areas that require review, beneficiary designations. Okay. We see it a lot that they are sometimes inconsistent across retirement accounts, insurance policies, and trusts. If you are not 100% sure, so you've got a copy of what you did, when in doubt, fill one out. And we say that every year. Hopefully, this will be your year to do it. Secure Act 2.0 may shorten payout for some widows and some non-spouse beneficiaries. Outdated designations can create avoidable tax and distribution issues. So be careful about that. Savings and contribution strategy. Folks' contribution elections often remained unchanged year after year after year. So we meet with somebody and we say, you can put 24,000 in and you're putting in 15. And they say, I thought that was the max. I set that up years ago. It's really easy for that to happen. Okay. And your income growth may alter your ability to do catch up. So it's a good thing to stay on top of it. Roth or pre-tax designations may no longer align with what you want to do. So take a look at them now. And higher RMD ages delay withdrawals, but taxation still applies once the distributions begin. And spoiler alert, the further out it goes, the bigger they're going to be. Okay. Your insurance elections. Nobody looks back at these. They just don't. And sometimes, and we've seen it, I know you've seen it, Katelyn, where the beneficiaries are set up based on when somebody first came into government.
Yeah.
And that may or may not. Family structure, health status can change all of that. And life insurance, long-term care, and other Fed benefits may be insufficient or they might be excessive. The only way you find out about it is taking a look at it. Okay, so timing and strategy considerations, benefit elections problems persist after the enrollment windows close. So if you identify them, get yourself ready for the next year. Contributions. You're coming into a new year. Time to do the math. You can put more in, and there are special catch-up provisions for people between the ages of 60 and 63. Notice that didn't include me. I'm real happy about that. But you have the ability to put in more. And years later, staying on top of those elections can make a huge difference for you. So some practical steps for the 2026 checkup. Gather your documents, your retirement statements, beneficiary forms, and insurance policies. Review your saving rates, investment allocations, and look for any coverage gaps. There's tools out there. We've got them. We have a fantastic TSP calculator. Social Security estimators. We have a great FERS calculator. There are RMD calculators out there. Use them. And it never hurts to discuss what you're seeing with a CFP, preferably one who has skill with federal benefits. Okay. If you have any takeaways from this, make it this. Benefits decisions drift. When left unchecked, small periodic reviews prevent large future corrections. And 2026 is the time to do it because we're all here right now. So by all means, do that. Now, Katelyn, you've got some nuts and bolts things that sort of flow into this, correct?
I do. So this episode is a little bit of like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you what I told you. So I wholeheartedly agree with Dan that 2026 is a really good year to kind of do a bit of a benefits overhaul, because we do have some changes, some updates, and probably one of the biggest changes and or updates that we have lies with the TSP. So as Dan mentioned, not every year, but, often, many years, the TSP/401k contributions, the qualified retirement plan contribution limit as defined by the IRS, it gets adjusted for inflation, right? Because obviously, the value of $24,000 in 2025 is very different than the value of $24,000 in, 1925, right? So we need to adjust for inflation. We need to make sure that we're, allowing folks to save a reasonable amount into these qualified plans. The IRS is who decides that. And they made the announcement in late 2025 that for 2026, they are increasing the amount of the maximum employee deferral limit up from $23,500 in 2025. They've increased it by $1,000 to $24,500 in 2026. Now, you might say, that sounds familiar. It's because you've heard it on this podcast, because we've now told you several times, because it really is that important, right? If you have set up your TSP contribution, Dan's absolutely right. We see people all the time who come in and say, oh yeah, I'm maxing. I think I'm maxing. I set it up years ago. I'm like, well, have you checked it since then? No, I haven't checked it since then. Then you're definitely not maxing, right? Because they've changed that max, right? It's not a solid number from year to year. Often it does get changed. So really good thing to do is to log in and take a look at that TSP and see if you are at the max. And if you are somebody who is over age 50, you are eligible to do a catch-up contribution, right, of $8,000. Now, there's a carve-out for my folks who are 60, 61, 62, or 63. Instead of doing that $8,000, they do a super catch-up of $11,250. So if you are under 50, you can put in up to $24,500. If you're between 50 and 59 or age 64 or older, you can put in up to $32,500. And if you are in that magical little niche of 60 to 63 in the year 2026, and that's the age you are in 2026, as of your birthday in 2026, then you can put in a whopping $35,750 in your employee contributions to the TSP this year. Now, Dan did say a little something about a piece of legislation called Secure 2.0 changing eligibility for catch-up. Now, what this did was it didn't take catch-up away from anybody. But what it said is if your 2025 wages are over $150,000, and this does not matter for married filing jointly versus single, if you individually made over $150,000, then you have to put your catch-up contribution in as Roth. You cannot put it in as pre-tax. You can still put it in, but it's got to go in as Roth. Okay, so that's going to change things with your strategy if you are somebody that's been putting in all to pre-tax. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something you need to plan for and reevaluate. The other thing that I'll mention is the TSP is offering in-plan conversions starting January 28th of 2026. Examine that. Do not rush into that. Roth conversions are a very complex tax and financial planning strategy. The TSP is the Walmart of retirement plans. We love it. It's the biggest retirement plan in the world, but it's the biggest retirement plan in the world. And we're talking about a really advanced strategy, okay? Think about it. Research it. If you're curious about it, reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation about it with you. Okay.
Absolutely.
So TSP is the biggest thing. It's the place where you should start. Other things that you should look at: FEHB, FedVip, dental, and vision coverage. Your open season elections are going to take effect January 11th. So by the time you're hearing this, they've already taken effect. Double check with your providers. Make sure everybody is still taking your insurance, right? Your healthcare FSA and your limited expense healthcare FSA. Be mindful of what you're contributing there. Your 2026 fund should be used early whenever feasible. Reason for that is you've got a spending deadline that is the earlier of your separation or retirement date, or December 31st of 2026. Okay. So if you're retiring at some point in 2026, you got to spend that thing down before you retire, or you got to spend it before the last day of the year. Unused balances there are forfeited. So be mindful of that. Take a look at another good thing that you could do is take a look at your 2025 W-2. If you work with a CPA, they may have sent you a tax questionnaire, which is going to definitely guide you to take a look at your W-2. But even if you don't, it's really, really good to take a look at that. Get a sense of your taxable wages, how much federal tax you're withholding, how much, you're putting towards your HSA, your traditional TSP. Just get a sense for how 2025 worked out. and
Sure.
what your year-to-date totals are there. This is going to help you assess your federal and state tax withholding to avoid over or under withholding and get a sense for those TSP contributions that we were talking about. Another thing that you could think about is the 2025 IRA contribution window. So 2025, we have said goodbye to her, but you actually still have 3 more months to fund your IRA and your Roth IRA potentially for 2025. You can make a prior year contribution. If you are under 50 years old, that's going to be $7,000. If you're over 50 years old, that's going to be $8,000. Okay. So could look into that as well. Life insurance coverage review. Dan said it earlier. I'll echo that same sentiment. Your coverage needs change over time. I cannot tell you how many folks I see who come in who maybe, they had a family, right? They've got 2, 3, 4 kids who at some point were underage, but now those kids have grown up. They've gone through college and they are working as lawyers or doctors or tradesmen, and they're making fine money and they're okay. And there's not a whole lot of debt that person needs life insurance to cover in the event of their death. In that situation, you may be radically overinsured and you're probably paying premiums that you may not need. So it's
Sure.
a good idea to kind of take a look at those things, as well as beneficiary reviews. Speaking of beneficiary reviews, write down these forms. SF 1152, TSP 3, SF 2823. Okay. Please review your beneficiaries. You should be reviewing these on a yearly basis. I know that sounds like it's much faster than life moves, but you wouldn't believe how quickly she can ramp things up sometimes. So marriages, divorce, remarriage, death of a beneficiary, okay? Changing tax structures and situations. You may want to structure things differently if you've got beneficiaries or kids who are in radically different
Absolutely.
tax brackets, okay? We've got an article on that. You can hit the blog on it. But make sure that you have your beneficiaries updated. If you can't remember the last time you looked at them, it's been too long, take a look. This one is often overlooked. This is our second to last kind of practical application tip for you. Social Security benefit verification. So SSA recently overhauled their login system, and a lot of people may not have set up a login. I know that we sent a lot of alerts out at the time that it happened. It happened in early 2025. Really good idea for you to get your login set up, get logged in there, and pull a Social Security benefit statement. Even if you are nowhere near retiring, pull a benefit statement and see what your current Social Security benefit is looking like, because that is going to factor in for your planning, especially, if you're a FERS employee. So always good to kind of have that number on hand. And then lastly, my TSP RMD reminder. So Dan was talking about how RMD ages have been updated. It's true. There's now, we originally started at 70 and a half, then we moved to 71, and we moved to 72, 73, and now we're upwards of 75 for folks born within certain years. Okay. So make sure that if you were born before 1953 and you're retired during 2025, your first TSP RMD deadline is going to be April 1st. Okay. Make sure that you go ahead and get on taking your RMD if you haven't already taken it, if you didn't take it during calendar year 2025. Okay. Your custodian should calculate that for you. TSP will calculate it for you. And then obviously, clients who are with our firm, we calculate it, but make sure that you are not skipping that RMD because the penalties are very nasty. It's 50% of the RMD amount that you should have taken. So don't miss that. Don't miss the boat on that. If you're curious as to how it's calculated, a lot of people think it's a flat percentage. It's not. It's based on your pre-tax account balances as of December 31st the prior year. So for your 2025 RMD, it's as of December 31st, 2024, and is based on the IRS Uniform Lifetime Table Factor, based on the age that you are in 2025. You don't need to get into the weeds on that. Like I said, most custodians, they calculate it for you, but make sure that you are taking it because very, very steep penalty if you do not. So that is your 2026 to-do, your financial to-do list. Hopefully you can carve out some time before things get warmer. Although I guess I shouldn't say that to the Californians. They're like, what are you talking about? It's already balmy. But hopefully you can carve out some time to take care of that this month and make sure you're in a good spot heading into, the rest of the year.
And that is about all the time we have for today, folks. But have no fear. We will be back next week to bring you the latest updates. You need to make informed decisions about your career and financial well-being as a Fed.
Indeed. And to make sure that you are here with us to learn all of that good stuff, make sure that you are subscribed. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can also subscribe on Spotify if you are an audio-only person. That will help you never miss an episode, and it will also tell the algorithms that be on those various platforms that our content is worth sharing with others so that we can reach more feds. You can also do things the old-fashioned way. Remember to share the podcast with your friends and colleagues so that they can learn about their benefits as well.
Absolutely. And for more information on the topics we covered today and more, check out our blog at the website STWServe.com, and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving, and you'll get all the latest and best delivered straight to your inbox every single week. You don't even have to go looking for it.
And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for feds, if you're listening to this to-do list and your head is just spinning and you're like, Katelyn, Dan, I don't know where to start, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. We have some really good ones coming up on February 10th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Jen Meyer will be hosting the Understanding Your Federal Retirement Benefits FERS session. If you've never had a webinar with us, if you're new to learning about your benefits, this is a really great place to start because it is somewhat comprehensive. We'll talk about FERS as a jumping off point, but we'll touch on some of the other areas of your benefits that FERS interacts with. And I think that's always a good kind of foundational webinar. We also have FEHB and Medicare coming up 2 days later on February 12th. That one will be from 1 p.m. to 4 or 4:30 p.m. A lot of times those run long because we cover a lot of information.
Oh, yeah.
I will be hosting that one as well. And so we'll be talking through FEHB, Medicare, things you need to know. Okay. So if you prefer a one-on-one approach, if a webinar environment is just too much for you, if 3 hours during the day is too much of a time commitment, listen, I get it. I totally get it. You can reach out to our team directly for a financial planning consultation at meetings@stwserve.com, and we'd be happy to help.
Absolutely. Well, that does it for us, folks. Thank you for listening to Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week.